speaking on the topic. Our next speaker will be Ahmed Shebani. Ahmed Shebani from the Libyan Democratic Movement. And is it possible I could ask them to come to the podium and speak? It's just because we're recording and we want to get a good picture of your lovely face. So if you just could come and speak on the podium, please.
Good evening. Is the volume okay?
Yep.
Good evenings, distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to have this platform to describe who we are. As a cyber rebel, our virtual world platform has taken an active role in igniting the 17th of February revolution in Libya. We have copied the Tunisian example and the Egyptian example. But if I want to make a reference specifically to the 17th of February and why we chose this date, we have to go back to 2006 when a young Libyan boy at the tender age of 12 was killed outside the Italian General Consul in Benghazi. This was the first spontaneous youth movement to protest against the cartoons that were the Danish cartoons that were very offensive to the Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When this boy was killed by the Libyan security, his neighborhood came back in anger at a larger number. Thereafter, 20 Libyan young men were killed, and nothing was done by the Libyan security apparatus to investigate this wrongful act, nor any person was held accountable. And in my opinion, the revolution was sown in every Libyan soul, and nobody could move because the system in Libya has governed us with a very unique style of governmentship. It's fear. In the early 80s, Gaddafi has initiated a very eccentric political movement. He calls it the Third Way, that he describes in his Green Book. Many students were rounded from colleges and hanged in public squares just because they did not believe in the Green Book. This was usually done on the 7th of April. And in carrying out such hideous crimes, the system managed to install fear, and the regime capitalized on this for virtually 40 years, unchallenged, until the late prophet of freedom and democracy came, Mohammed Bouazizi. And we feel that Mohammed Bouazizi phenomena will not stop until we liberate, inshallah, Mecca of the clamps of dictatorship of the Wahhabi school. And in my opinion, the same mindset of the Arab youth that are disenchanted, that are fearless, jobless, some of them are even godless, that went and carried out the 9/11 atrocities 10 years ago, it is the same mindset that have started the Arab Spring Revolution. The only difference is that there is a political maturity, a new political discourse, which is freedom, and beyond freedom, democracy. With freedom comes responsibilities. And I feel that the Arab Spring is a long overdue movement. And if I can focus back on Libya, I would like to share the good news with you that our virtual world platform, more than 70% are Libyan women. And the Libyan revolution was started by Libyan women. The woman that chose the 17th of February, she lives in Dubai. And for personal reasons, she doesn't want to be identified. And in our culture, it's very rare for Libyan women to go out in public, let alone at night. They could not wait to the 17th. They actually came out on the 15th, on the evening. And they chanted words like this, Thuri Thuri ya Benghazi. It's like, explode, explode Benghazi. This is the day you've been waiting for. And passerbys couldn't believe this, that Libyan women are gathering outside the Internal Security Center in Benghazi. They are demanding the human rights activist, the lawyer who was representing the families of Abu Slim massacre, to be released. They came again on the 16th. And that was an incredible sight. I think speaking about this is very emotional for me, in the sense that I felt that the Libyan revolution was the only unique revolution, with my due respect to my Tunisian brother and Egyptian brothers and sisters here. Because somehow the Tunisian setup and the Egyptian model, the security apparatus, probably 20% of that deal has been removed. The rest is still intact. With us is a fresh beginning. Yes, it has been very bloody. We've lost approximately 30,000 young men. We have about 50,000 missing. We have about 30,000 disabled Libyans that have lost their limbs, their amputee. We have many rape victims. I will share with you some shocking statistics. We have more than 600 cases of abortions in Tunisia of Libyan women. Of my hometown alone, Misrata, we have about 40 cases. I have received very disturbing file that I was supposed to hand to the International Criminal Court about rape victims. But then I took the view with the consultation of my brother-in-law, who's a member of the International Council, Professor Suleiman al-Fortiya, that it won't do them justice, and there is a degree of humiliation, and I decided to actually destroy the hard evidence forever. It's very hard for a woman in a Western world to go, if she's raped, to the authorities, let alone to a country like Libya, to a region where there is a stigma associated with it, and so on. And plus, those who have committed these crimes, most of them have been killed, because we have found this on their mobile phones. And this will lead me on to the issue of how we deal with our African brothers. Till very recently, in Libya, you could get away with murder. If you find a black person and you point the gun at him and say, Allahu Akbar, and shoot, you get away with it. Because somehow every person assumed that black people in Libya are mercenaries, they were hired by Gaddafi, and this wasn't the case. I'm sorry, I have so much to say. I have got 2 minutes to conclude my deliberation, but I leave the discussion for later on question time. Feel free to ask me any question. All what I would like to emphasize is that we as a political movement, we are a leaderless political party like the Arab Spring. Yes, I am a founder. We have nominated 3 Libyan women to lead this party. We believe in secular Islam. We believe in the separation between church and the state. We aspire to build democracy. We've missed it in 1969. We don't want to miss it in 2011. And we are very determined to make sure that political legitimacy is derived from the ballot box. And we say that those who have got a military hat or a turban are no different. Dictatorship is the same. We would like to make sure that civil society, separation of powers, rule of law, and human rights prevail in Libya. Thank you.